With the pump back in the machine, it would be possible to crank the engine, and I could borrow a compression tester. But the adapter to hook that up needed a seal. It was made one just out of rubber because the copper washers wasn't perfect, and it was a little too long also. So I had to use a little metal plate as a spacer and a longer bolt while temporarily bolting them in place. Rigged up some hoses to collect any diesel spilling. It did temporary or tightened up the valve covers a tiny bit. Installed the oil pipe for the turbo to catch any oil starting to spill when cranking the engine. Tighten up that adapter for the compression tester. The cab was brought down, so the key and the cranking could be done. Started at cylinder 5 just because it was easy to access, and it seemed to jump up quite quickly. Then cylinder 6, this one we had to crank quite a lot with the poor compression. We kept going, it kept working its way up. Didn't really look all that good, to be honest, so was a little worried. And oil started spewing out that turbo connection. Very little diesel fuel came out. I thought more would collect from that, so we had to start draining the catch can every test. Moved to another cylinder, I think it's number 4 here, a lot better compression, and then continued forward. I think we're at number 3 here, and I might have missed. Now here we have number 2. That one, it seems to jump up quite well. Empty the catch can after each test. Yeah, I missed number 1, but that was good. So we went back to number 6, but this time it worked its way up a lot faster, so it has decent compression on all cylinders at least, even if I'm no expert in doing anything like this, so I'm not sure how good they are, but we decided to put things back together at least. So all the injectors were installed, a few taps on them to ensure they seated fully. I had the vacuum cleaner out and the hose and had cleaned out I could see a little debris in one of the holes, so I had sucked them all clean. Torqued them all down. I think it called for 40 Newton meters according to the manual. Had removed all the hoses and things like that. Started connecting all the pipes feeding the injectors. It's a little hard to get access, but that wasn't an issue. Removed that oil pipe for the turbo. All the copper washers for the return pipe I reused. I just softened them by heating them and dunking them into water, and then that pipe was put back. It's a little tricky getting all the copper washers in place, but some fiddling, and eventually I had all the bolts in place with washers where they should be. Tightened things up. Tightened up the valve covers fully, and then installed the brackets holding the wiring for the injectors. And, all the wiring was brought up, and I had my markings to ensure I got them all in the correct place, and tightened up the electrical connections and ensure that protective rubber was on there. So everything regarding the injectors are in place. Some zip ties to hold the wiring. I missed the video footage of the others, but just the same, just harder access. Cleaned out the intake to ensure that was nothing had fallen down there, because I had forgot to put paper there. New gasket, move the pin bolt, 2 lock nuts to tighten that down, then the electric heater, air heater, and another new gasket on top of that, and then the intake could be brought over and bolted down. The electric connection for the heater, and then the ground connection is on the back pin bolt with an extra nut to hold that in place, and then 2 bolts. Here for some reason they had 3 pin bolts and 2 bolts, and the parts manual shows only 1 pin bolt and the rest are normal bolts, so someone has done something here in the past. But found a handle for the near the door a little loose, so tightened that up also when it was found.